Right now.
Sure.
Lacey, are we coming through up there? Good, good. That's one thing city council uses.
Hey, can you sign it? We should put a glass down.
Yeah,
Make a statement.
exactly. Okay. Well. Okay. Okay, the October 10th, 2024 Municipal Planning Commission meeting will now come to order. Mrs. Blankenhorn, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Starr.
Here.
Mr. Sawyers.
Here.
Mrs. Ellsworth. Mr. Hawkins.
Here.
Mr. Swallow.
Here.
Mr. Deal. Mr. West. We do have a quorum.
We have a quorum, okay. In your packets, commission members, were the meeting minutes from the regular meeting of July 11th, 2024. Were there any additions or corrections? If not, we'll entertain a motion for approval.
I will move for adoption of the July 11th minutes.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? They are approved. We have 4 items on the agenda for this afternoon's hearing. First one is, well, I'll just leave it up to Mrs. Blankenhorn to review. But the first one is going to be on Compromise Street, a home occupation for massage therapy. Mrs. Blankenhorn, will you read the item, and then we will get going on the discussion.
Case 2024 MPC 15 for 306 Compromise Street involving parcel 66-03731.000, a home occupation for massage therapy.
Okay, and who wishes to present on behalf of this? Jen, come on up. We'll have you state your name in there. Oh, before you do, I forgot to read this at the beginning. Forgive my forgetfulness. We'll get you in a second, Jen.
Okay.
Just as a reminder to hear all of you who are here today, the purpose of the Municipal Planning Commission is to make sure that we balance the public good with private property rights and interests. Also, the Commission carries out all other powers and duties conferred upon it by the City of Mount Vernon's zoning ordinance or other city ordinances and the laws of the state of Ohio. This is a public meeting, and there are rules of decorum that we follow. We are committed to the democratic process, individual rights of expression, robust debate, and tolerance for different viewpoints. The following general rules of civility are expected, including addressing others in a respectful manner, no insulting, personal attacks, intimidating, or offensive communications, no harassment, no willful destruction or damage of property, and no disruptive behavior. Please, if everyone would silence all of your cell phones or electronic devices, that would be wonderful, and refrain from private conversations during the meeting. If you need to come and go through the meeting, please do so in the least disruptive manner possible. And if you are offering public comment today, you must first be sworn in by reading the statement at the lectern, and we ask that you keep your comments to 4 minutes or less, except the person who is actually explaining the project that's up for discussion. Again, the purpose of this commission is to oversee that the law is followed and planning concurs within which the spirit of those laws and regulations have been adopted by the City of Mount Vernon and State of Ohio. So, sorry for missing that earlier, but Jennifer, if you would like to come up again, we need to reread that, or?
No, I just wanted to make a procedural note that
Sure.
these home occupations and conditional uses, that the first 2 cases that are going to be heard, the process has changed with the adoption of the new zoning code. The Board of Zoning Appeals used to hear these cases, and that has now been moved to municipal planning.
Thank you for that clarification, yes. Okay, Jen, if you would read the statement there, we'll have you,
This statement here?
Yep.
yeah.
My name is Jennifer Hardwick. My address is 306 Compromise Street. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
Welcome, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just plan on running a small massage therapy business out of my house. I was hoping it could be like my retirement project. I've been in the restaurant business for nearly 30 years now. So it's nothing big. I don't plan on having a big following, just a small, hopefully, little small business out of my house. I don't know what else to say.
Does anyone have any questions for
Yeah.
Jennifer?
I see you have LMT behind your name already.
Yes,
That-
sir.
I would assume that would mean you
Yes, I
already
am
have your
licensed.
license.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, good.
14 months of school.
Okay. If there are no questions from the commission here, we'll have you take a seat and we'll open up for other comment. And
Okay.
if there are questions from the audience, you might be able to answer them.
All right, thank you.
So is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this particular matter? A home occupation for massage therapy on Compromise Street. Well, hearing none. Mrs. Blankenhorn, were there any communications received either through phone calls or in writing?
I did not receive anything.
Mr. Ball, do you have any engineering concerns?
No.
Mr. Bourne, are there any legal concerns regarding the project?
No, I just do want to note that we're proceeding under new code section 1108, 01G, which is, 7, and which is home occupations. And that lays out the general standards about which home occupations are allowed and the process for getting them. And it is, after review, I do not believe that this violates any of the sections within that provision.
Thank you. And just confirming this is a ruling and not a recommendation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, hearing nothing else at this point, the chair will entertain a motion.
So I have some questions.
We need to get it on the table before we can talk about it.
Okay, very good, sorry. Go ahead. Oh, so I'll put it on the table.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir, it's a motion.
Okay, it's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of this. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Bourne, if I look at page 47, and I'm assuming we're using the new-
47.
We're using the new code book, correct? On this, since this is our first time
Yeah.
doing this?
I have a different page, but
You
Okay.
need to use the section numbers.
Well, I'm looking at the chapter 1105, base zoning districts and principal uses, which was quoted, you quoted 1107,
1108.
1108.
Yeah, which
Okay.
is home occupations in the various districts.
Okay, I'm looking at a table. It says
Okay.
1105-1.
So that's 47. Hold on, let me.
Document.
Okay. 53, 52, 51.
47.
Is it 100? Look at
Okay.
Page 100. Home occupation.
Okay.
I believe where you are is on page 100 of the draft.
No, I'm 1105-1, principal
Okay.
uses.
Right, yes, that table.
Uh-huh, okay.
So that table is not applicable in this case. Is that what I'm hearing? Did I look at the wrong table is what I'm saying?
This is the general permitted uses. And then that is that there are certain exceptions to that, and those are in 1108.
Okay, so these permitted uses and conditional uses on this table are not applicable to this particular case?
Let's see, is there a...
So the question,
Because
is
it
there a
says
specific
this something
one?
that they need permission to do?
Well, it says conditional use on this table, and in the R1A zoning, there's no conditional use for massage. So I'm just
Well-
asking for a clarification.
Well, this is a home-based business as opposed to, these were actual, this is a bit, these would be businesses where that would take over the entire space, the entire use. This is just, a home-based business is a business that is adjacent to or in addition to the actual owner living there. So that's something that the owner does on their property.
Okay, because she's asking for a conditional use.
Is
Not
that- is
asking
that
for a
what it said?
home-based business, she's asking for a conditional use.
So a home occupation is a subset of a conditional use, which
Okay.
requires this hearing.
Okay,
It's considered a accessory use to
Yeah.
the primary use of a home.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a better description.
So if she was using the entire house for the business,
She couldn't do
she could
that.
not do it, but
Correct.
she's using a part of the business.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then we go back to page 100 or 101. Which I'm just now looking at, but apparently you've already looked at it, and this is an approved, or in your opinion, this
It
is
is,
an
in
approved
my
use?
opinion, it fits within, it does not violate any of the restrictions for this type of home-based business.
Okay, thank you.
I will add, from serving with the Board of Zoning Appeals for several years now, we do have other home occupations of massage therapy in homes that have been approved by Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will be educated as we move along. Thank you.
We all are getting educated.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mrs. Blankenhorn, please call the roll.
Mayor Starr.
Yes.
Mr. Sawyers.
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins.
Yes.
Mr. Swallow.
Yes.
Okay. That is approved. Congratulations, Jen. Good luck.
Yes.
Next item is 2024 MPC 16. Mrs. Blankenhorn.
2024 MPC 16 for 114 East Gambier Street involving parcel number 66-50199.000, a conditional use for a charitable club.
Okay. Who wishes to speak on this particular matter? You would come up there, and if you would both swear in by reading that statement, the floor will be yours.
My name is David Maggart. My address is 207 Worcester Road. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
And my name is Stephanie Maggart. My address is also 207 Worcester Road, Mount Vernon, Ohio. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury. So I'm going to start. I'm going to kind of go into the what. Dave is going to go into the why. We are very much a team. So we started a ministry actually in February 2020 called Afterglow Life Services and Recovery Network. That more or less just started as a meeting at our church. And so every Sunday we have a family dinner at 1 o'clock where we have people come in. Some are, the majority I would say are covenant members, at least it started that way, but we have people coming from outside the covenant church as well. And then through the week, Dave and I, but mostly Dave, does different opportunities to minister. We're both certified chaplains, and Dave has gone through and gotten his there's an organization called American Association of Christian Counseling, and they work with an educational institution called Light University, and they have a master's track for biblical counseling. So he went through that and got qualified. So the counseling, that was more like pastoral counseling, not like certified counseling or anything like that. And so we just really have a heart to love on people, to come alongside people who are just dealing with broken issues in their life. And so doing it at Covenant has been great, but as you can imagine, we're limited to space and availability, as well as we were really wanting to reach out to people who may not feel so comfortable walking into a church. And so for a really long time, we've had a dream of having our own location. That would be a home kind of a home feel that we could just practice hospitality with people. And Dave has certain classes that he teaches from some of the training he's done. One's called Redeemed Walk, that kind of goes into, it's like an 8-week course on decision making. And then again, it's just about building community. So one of the things we really believe that has changed our lives and have helped the people that we've helped is not just giving a message or giving an education, but really coming alongside people and building community around them. And that is what the kind of the magic and the beauty that we've seen from this group is. It's not just reaching out to hurting people, but we're becoming like family and community with people who are hurting. And so this opportunity came up, and this real estate looked like, it was zoned commercially. And so this looks like a really good fit for what we're wanting to do. We want to be in the downtown area because we think a lot of the people we'll be reaching out to may not have accessibility with vehicles. And so, we would expect people to be walking there. Dave, about a year ago, started going to Hot Meals, and he doesn't go to help the churches who are doing it. He literally just goes and sits and talks and has food with people and has just been building relationships that way. And so we also want to be close to some of the other ministries and resources that are downtown. And that's really our heart as well, to collaborate. I think the more that we can come together, the better good that we can do. And so that's what we're looking to do, and that's how we want to use the first level of 114 East Gambier Street. And we would be purchasing the property, so this Mark is here as well, but this package deal would be us also being property owners. So
You answered one of my questions, which was most of the people who will be coming will probably be arriving on foot.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, but we would expect that. I did a last page. I mean, there's a little bit of parking in the back, but being downtown, there's some nice public lots as well that I think if they did drive, they could find a public parking spot. And I can't imagine us having a huge group of people. I mean, there's only so much space in the house, so I can only imagine so many being there at one time. So, Dave, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. She's a business banker, and she gives more of the nuts and bolts. Let me tell you what I know. My whole life, I struggled with depression, anxiety, PTSD from past sexual abuse as a child, and alcoholism, addictions, all sort of. I tried to seek healing in all areas of my life. I even ended up in the hospital here in Knox County several times. They didn't know how to help me. They told me this road's going to end in death. I tried everything. Tried rehab centers, tried medication. I even tried electroshock therapy. I was in Knox County Hospital. I said, I'm going to go kill myself. I reached out and said, God, if you could do something, I would let you. That was 6 years ago. Okay, he took me on a journey. He's healed me from all my emotional, and he's delivered me. And so now I can't help but try to find people that are where I was and say, there's still hope. There's still hope. So that's why I go to Hot Meals. That's why we have this group. And I think this could be a home where I can build relationships and then coordinate with all other community programs that already exist and bring all the help and healing in one location with everybody there and love them under the name of Christ. That's my heart. That's what I want to do here. That's what Jesus has done for me. That's what I want to do for others. That's our goal.
Anybody have any questions for the Maggards?
So, if you don't mind, some questions about the operations.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know, and I can appreciate the faith-based approach. I'm originally from the Portsmouth area, so this is, the opioid epidemic was ravaged Appalachia. And I had a lot of family members that we lost. So when anybody jumps into the recovery network, I can definitely support that. But I've also seen a lot of people that tried to take advantage of that. So I can hope you appreciate where I'm coming from.
Sure.
So when I see recovery network, and then when I see charitable club, which sounds like, when I see the mission that you're going for here, it seems more mission.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is going to be a Christian mission. That's actually how Afterglow House will be a Christian mission in Mount
Sure.
Vernon. That's what this building will be used
And I
for.
recognize the note. You do not have to be a Christian to come and benefit from Afterglow. So I think that's important for the community to know. And looking at how Afterglow accomplishes this. I see the section, the highlighted section here. And then I also see some of the more business-related words that kind of strike out to me, like proposed corporate office and purchased by Maggart Enterprises.
That's the business banker in me.
Sure, sure, which is fine,
Yeah,
but those
yeah.
kind of trigger, right? Do you intend on billing at any point for services?
No,
Okay.
we don't.
Could I touch on what you
Sure.
you asked about the programs for recovery? We intend to collaborate a lot with all this, the Freedom Center, whatever is already here, to offer as much professional and refer much as we can. A lot we're going to do at the house will be more mentorship, more hands-on. I've been through this journey. Let me walk with you. Relational type
Yeah,
stuff.
community building.
Yeah,
Sure.
community.
Yeah.
To be a bridge, a home to build all these other services, to people.
And from this position, I want to make sure that I'm staying in my lane, of course. But I think it's important to note that, a charitable organization or a mission
Yeah,
versus something else,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And we would never, and I'm not accusing you of that in any way, but I want to make sure that we don't ever open the door for somebody to come in as one thing and then operate as another.
So, when we formed this in 2020, I mean, again, it was the business banker in me that says, okay, we need to, register our entity. We need to file for a 501c3. It was just kind of my area. Of course, we hired somebody to do that for us and help us with that and be legal. But again, we were kind of way ahead of ourselves when it came to that, even with the name, right? We were at that point just meeting at our church once a week, having dinner with people, but I would say that Afterglow Life Services and Recovery Network is the entity. This Afterglow House is, I'm going to say, and right now, Afterglow Life Service and the Recovery Network, the only thing that we really are is this. And this Afterglow House is this next component of being a Christian mission, right? But who knows? I mean, he's got a brother up in Michigan who has thought about doing something similar up there with their church, right? And so, there's always the possibility, when I say corporate office for Afterglow Life Services and Recovery Network, there's always that possibility that this might be something that we could, that could spread larger than Knox County, maybe this idea that we created. So that's why I differentiated the corporate office for that from the Afterglow House itself, which is 100% Mount Vernon, based mission. But we have absolutely no desire to this is not a money-making outfit in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, Dave had he was trained as a detailer, and about 3 or 4 years ago, he had back surgery, and that took him out of the ability to do that. And we just prayed, does he pursue another career opportunity at that point? Because he couldn't do that. And we both prayed, and we both resolved to grow this. So he's really been without income the last several years. God has really blessed me and my career path, and it's just been amazing how God has come through and really made a way for us. But yeah, if you saw our home, the house we're buying to love on people is nicer than our home we live in. So we are really not about the money. We are really about just really helping people and loving people. We really feel like that's what life's about. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I hope you
Okay.
can appreciate, I feel that
Absolutely.
compelled
And if at
to
any time you
ask these questions
Absolutely,
because you do have people that, take advantage of the most
But-
vulnerable population
Yes.
that we have.
And there's
so.
corruption everywhere, for sure.
Right, absolutely.
So, 100%.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for the Maggarts?
Well, I have my educational questions. Should I wait?
Educational question?
Sure.
We'll take an educational question.
So which code number does this come under?
Well, actually, we're back to where you started.
Yes.
Back in the conditional use chart.
Page 45.
This is on page 47. If you take a look at fraternal, charitable, or service-oriented club, it's in the sort of, I don't know, mauve,
Yep, I see it. Uh-huh.
and it's C, so this is a conditional use application.
Got it.
And I narrowed it down to that after talking with Stephanie and her presenting mission, and I couldn't find mission in this code. So reading through definitions, I came down to the charitable club, was the closest I could get.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wondered if that's your
My
thought
thought
process, because I kind of went there myself, but
Yes.
I wanted to check. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the Maggarts? And if you'll hang tight, we'll open it up for public comment, okay?
Let's go ahead and have a
Yeah,
seat.
you go ahead and have a seat. Is there anybody who would like to speak about this particular proposal today? Sir, come on up. We'll have you swear in by reading the statement at the lectern, and then the floor will be yours. You'll have 4 minutes.
My name is Wayne Gotke. My address is 523 East Chestnut. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
Welcome, Mr. Gotke.
Thank you. I am the owner of 112 East Gambier Street next door, and I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
I haven't heard when these services are available. Every day of the week, certain hours and times of the day, when would these services be available? And I guess I should first of all say I appreciate the need for this in the community, and I appreciate the passion that's behind the project. So I have a question about more about the use, when it will be used. What is the impact going to be as far as, you're not sure how many people will be coming. There are 5 residences in 112 East Gambier Street who rely upon parking directly out front. There is no off-street parking, so I'm concerned about their benefit as far as access to their residences. That would be my questions.
Could we impose on the Maggarts to come back and address those questions? Thank you, Mr. Gotke.
Would you like us to re-swear in, or?
No, you're already in.
Yeah, no, that's great. So this is a work in progress, I will say. It's definitely going to be morning, afternoon, early evening hours, ideally. We do want to be a good neighbor, okay? So that is really important to us. We're here to to improve upon things, and I can completely understand your concern of your residents. Actually, a good friend of mine rented from you several years ago. So, but yeah, so again, I don't anticipate a ton of the people who will be coming will be necessarily driving, but we will absolutely encourage the parking in the public spots that are right off of Gay Street. There are 4 spots in the back. One is going to be for our upstairs tenant. However, we believe we know who that's going to be, and he doesn't have a vehicle. So in that situation, there would be 4 as well. So I genuinely do not believe there's going to be an issue with parking. But by all means, if there is, please talk with us. We can exchange information. I would be more than happy. And we definitely want to be a good neighbor. So. Do you want to say anything?
We also plan to get a bus or something at some point and be busing people in and out. So that'll save on people's parking spots and things also. But when I do think of a mission, I do think of pretty much all day. Somebody, sobers up enough to stumble into a mission to get a meal or something, we want to be open. So maybe, 7, 8 in the morning to maybe 6, 7 at night. We'll work that out with the board, but that's kind of what I envision, to be able to do the most impact.
And we've reached out to even like the health department. We're not going to, our big thing isn't to feed people. That's not like come to the Afterglow house to eat. We really just want to love on people. But if they come in the morning, we'll have bagels and cereal if they're hungry, right? That kind of thing. We'll probably have a pot of soup on every day around lunchtime. So if anyone comes there and they're hungry, we're going to do that. We want to coordinate with the hot meals that are already existing. And then Sunday, when we normally do our 1 p.m. family dinner, we would then start doing that no longer at Covenant Church, but at 114 East Gambier. But it really is a work in progress, and we do want to play well and, try to get along with everyone as much as we can.
And we talked to Winter Sanctuary, and we think, especially in the winter, if we were open, mainly during the day, that would help the most people.
Yeah.
Do you have a limit? Maximum?
I would imagine we'll
We
need to
would
talk
have
with
to
the
ask.
fire department.
Yeah, we'd have to ask them what the
I'm
limit
sure
is.
there will be one. We just need to find out what that is, and we will make sure we abide by that. So,
Any other questions? We can.
yeah.
Mr. Gotke, does that answer your questions?
brought up a couple of more.
That's fine.
Well, if you'd like to come back up
Yeah.
here, you can answer. You're still sworn in, so you can ask those, and then Maggart, you would just hang
Yeah.
tight there.
I would also note for the board that a conditional use can be revoked if necessary.
Okay.
Conditional use would, once the property at some point is vacated, would revert back to the original, or would it continue as a conditional use?
Yes, is it 6 months or a year?
It's one of those two.
There's a vacancy period. If the use ceases to operate or exist, then the conditional use goes away.
And that's
And
whether
it's-
or not it changes hands or not. So even if under the current owners, they were to stop for, I'm not sure under the new code, whether it's 6 months or a year, then the conditional use would end as an operation of law.
Okay. Question about, it sounds like there could be a number of people that are transitioning in and out of this property. Would there be gathering outside? Would there be smoking outside? The impact it's going to have on the neighborhood during these hours outside of the building.
There'll probably be a spot out back, you know, with picnic tables and stuff where people can kind of congregate and fellowship and get to know each other, you know, for relation and stuff. And I don't know. We didn't think maybe there'll be a smoking section back there or something along with that. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Well,
There'll definitely be. I mean, we'll have people who are smokers there. There's no doubt. So,
Yeah.
and they're not going to smoke in the house. So there will be a designated. But again, that's something we can be thoughtful about with where we put that. There's a back porch. There's also a front porch that could be utilized for that. They both have coverage. So if it's raining, that would be a place they could smoke, without getting wet. We are big disc golf fans, so we were planning to also use on the grass, having like a disc golf cage that we could just do putting practice. Again, just something fun. We have a hobby room we're going to have in there where people can work on puzzles or play chess or, different things like that. Dave's into model cars, so we'll probably help encourage people to do stuff like that are construction or constructive. But I really don't think this will be a main outside thing. I think this will mainly be an inside thing. That's what I envision. It's not a huge property as far as the outdoor is concerned. So there really isn't the space to do a ton of activities that way.
I think if I understand Mr. Gotke's question, I think we are looking to avoid a gathering of a whole bunch of people who are smoking
Yeah.
out front of the
Yeah,
property that.
we could definitely say no smoking out front.
Yeah.
yeah. So you would probably prefer that in the back versus the front if somebody were smoking, or just not a gathering at all?
I would like the gatherings to be very
Minimal.
limited.
Yeah, I get it. Well, again, I can't imagine us having huge numbers of people in general there, especially given the hours of operation. I see us having different times. And I think one thing we would like to do is have like events every once in a while, like do a coffee house, like where I play guitar. And so I was thinking it'd be fun to have people come in and have coffee and, live music and that kind of thing. Again, just something social, but those would be during reasonable hours. That wouldn't be anything out of hand. Or, like I said, we're the opposite of partiers, but we would like people to have fun and enjoy themselves and be a positive environment. We also are working with law enforcement. So Dave had met with Dan Jackman. Is that the right name? Okay. And so that's going to be a part of it too, because we would be naive to think, well, I'm sure there's still plenty we have not learned yet that we will learn in this process. But law enforcement and being friends of law enforcement is going to be something important too, because I'm sure we'll run into situations that, that may call for that. Or we will have people there who might need help of law enforcement, so.
Okay. Anybody else would like to speak about this particular project? Mrs. Blankenhorn, did you receive any communications either through phone or calls or in writing?
I did not.
Mr. Ball, do you see any engineering concerns?
No.
Mr. Braun, are there any legal concerns that come to mind for you from your perspective?
No.
Okay. This is a ruling, so this is, again, one of those things that BZA used to do and is now under the new code, under Municipal Planning Commission. And so when the energy's right, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion. I make a motion to accept proposal.
Is there a
Or
second?
approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of this project. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Blankenhorn, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Starr.
Yes.
Mr. Sawyers.
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins.
Yes.
Mr. Swallow.
Yes.
Congratulations. That will bring up the next item, which is MPC 17. Mrs. Blankenhorn, will you please read the item?
2024 MPC 17 for South Main Street parcels 66-05624.000, parcel 66-05627.000, parcel 66-05628.000, and parcel 66-05629.000, a zoning amendment from R1A to R4. I will note in the recent code update, this property went from R1 to R1A because of the narrowness of the individual parcels. And R4 is a new district that separates from an R3 that is now solely 3 dwelling units in one structure. R4 allows anywhere from 1, 2, 3 units, 4 and above.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Who is going to be presenting on this? Sir, you come on up. We'll have you swear in, and the floor will be yours.
Please read aloud for the tape. My name is Joe Updike. My address is 18254 New Gambier Road, Mount Vernon address. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, tell us what you are proposing here.
I've had the property for about 8 years now and haven't really done anything with it. Wanted to do something. At first I was thinking mini storage, but I never brought it to the board. But from talking to some of the council members, they're like, that may be a tough sell in bordering on residential. So I backed away. So I've thought of doing some apartments on the property. I don't know yet. I don't really have a plan. I was waiting to see how the zoning went before I continued farther down the engineering path. If that's the wrong way to go for the commission, please excuse my ignorance. It's not a sign of disrespect. I just don't know the process.
Any questions for Mr. Updike?
This parcel has come up before this commission before. Have you brought any, in the 8 years that you have been owner, have you brought anything to this commission?
Yes, about 8 years ago, and Mark Ramser was helping me. We come in for the storage, and midway through the meeting, we found out that the zoning we were going for, neighborhood commercial, did not fit. That was not the proper, neighborhood commercial is not the proper zoning for that. So we retracted our request mid-meeting before you guys, or pulled it from the agenda, so to speak, before it was brought before you.
Okay.
So it would have been on the docket.
Right.
Or the agenda.
Right, and then due to the change in our zoning code and the possibility that you could see a new use for it, this is why you're bringing it today?
Yes.
Thank you. And you don't have any idea how many apartments you might put on there?
I'm thinking we're 6 to 9 at the most, because it's only 3/4 of an acre.
Yeah.
And from talking with Lacey, you need 2 parking spots per unit. So I think the parking lot may dictate how many units, more so than the units themselves.
And you're talking 1 or 2 stories?
That I don't know yet. You could save some square, you could save some area, square footage by going up. And that may have to be a probability, or maybe a possibility.
Other questions for Mr. Updike?
This is actually one for Mr. Brown and Mrs. Blankenhorn. In the application, it is R1A to R3.
That was a correction that Mr. Updike and I spoke about because the old code, R3, allowed for 3 or more
Sure.
units in one structure. And in talking to him and looking at example apartments such as Division Street beside the Mount Vernon High School Stadium, those apartments have 4 units in them. And so after I got back a hold of him after reviewing this against the new code, and he opted to go with R4 to allow a structure that may have 4 units or more in it.
Good, yeah. Just between the application and the letter to the MPC, it does say R3.
Yes, correct. I submitted that way, and Lacey reached out and said,
Okay.
R4 is some of our new zoning that may be
Sure.
of value to go for that.
Any other questions for Mr. Updike? Well, Mr. Updike, if you would just hang tight, we're going to open up for public comment now, and we'll bring you up to answer any questions, okay? Is there anybody else who wishes to speak about this particular project? Oh. Go right ahead.
My name is Chuck Bowery, and I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
Welcome.
He at one time he wanted to put a garage in there to restore classic cars or something, and you said that he had no access to drive onto Granville Road. Is that going to be possible for this too? Or, and I'd like to know about, is it going to be low income? I don't want a slumlord in there, you understand? And I think it's really too many units on that property too, so that's just my theory. Thank you.
Mr. Updike, can you talk about the accessibility and the income? I don't know, this is about rezoning and not a site plan, so we don't really have that, but if you want to address that.
I'm planning to not come off of South Main. It'll either be from Parrott or Adamson.
Okay, all right.
Because being right near that intersection, that could be, I don't know what they call it, dangerous, unsafe, coming in and out. And then I think there's a turn lane there. You may be coming out where the turn lane's starting. So you would have to cross two lanes to turn south, so.
Alley behind.
Yes.
So yeah, I was looking for Adamson or Parrott Street.
Okay.
There is an alley behind about half of the parcels.
Yeah, the southern half has an alley. It's not in use, but it's not vacated. Is that the proper term?
Not developed.
So that could be an option too.
And the question that Mr. Malley brought up about low-income housing, or what, has there been any thought to that, I guess?
No, I don't know what you call it. Private market housing. I mean,
Market rate
not looking for government subsidized
Okay.
housing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Gold.
My name is Samantha Scholes. My address is 12 Parrott Street. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
Welcome.
Thank you. I live right 2 doors down from this property. So I guess I'm concerned with the number of units. And I will say, I did speak with Mr. Updike on the phone last night, but I just want to have some of my concerns on the record. I'm very concerned that there's no plan. Like, to ask for rezoning is one thing, but not to have a plan as to what to do with it. I mean, this is the Municipal Planning Commission. Shouldn't you already have a plan in place to make this request? I'm also very concerned with the fact that it looks like these are about 6 lots here. And in the map that he provided in his request, there are over 100 R1. I'm assuming these are R1, R1As. I'm not sure what the new codes are. But when you're looking at the fact that even in this map, there's over 100 R1 properties and you're asking to spot zone 6 of them, kind of changes the character of our community that we have and the neighborhood that we have. I'm also I have a lot of concerns because I live in this neighborhood. When it comes to traffic, like even coming off of that alley right there at Parrott Street, when you already have traffic coming in and out of that whole area, I'm afraid of what that does to being able for us to pull in and out of our driveway safely, for traffic to be coming onto Parrott Street safely with somebody coming out there. It's also very hard since the intersection was reworked. Like, that road goes down to the light, and so that property sits up higher than the rest of that intersection does. And so this line of sight, I don't know what the plan for that property would be. Is it going to be lower? I mean, how does that affect all of those things? But not having a plan makes it hard. I'm visual, so it makes it hard for me to understand like what the expectation would be for that. So I just would like you all, as you consider this, to really, keep in mind that the previous administration always was thoughtful about spot zoning and whether it was in the true benefit of the community and the city. So I think that's probably my biggest request for you to consider as to whether or not this is the right place for this. I know that we need housing. I understand that. I know there are a lot of big developments that are in progress, in planning and with construction. So maybe, I would feel differently if he honestly was going to propose single properties that he would sell, because I think if you are invested in your property, you take better care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ivak, if you want to address Ms. Scull's concerns, that'd be great.
Yes, if I understand the wanting a plan to see something, and I'm sorry that may be my ignorance. I was thinking on get the zoning before put money into the planning side. It'll have to pass approval. The plans will need approved at some point. And I'll have to walk through that process, and I'm sure Lacey will help me some when I call her from time to time. But, as far as pulling out of the driveway, I don't know. I can't say, and I can't even say how many. So I do completely understand her concerns when it's open-ended, but it can't be a 30-unit apartment complex. It just physically won't fit. So it's not something that can get out of hand, so to speak, as far as traffic and so forth.
Okay, thank you. This is one of these areas, as I recall, that I remember Wendy talking about transition areas. Can you explain a little bit about what transition area means, Mrs. Blankenhorn, or Mr. Boren, actually?
My interpretation of it is it's a gradual change from more intense uses to less intense. The least intense would be a single family home the most intense is probably an M1 designation for manufacturing. And looking at this zoning map in one block, I see 5 different zoning districts ranging from R1 to M1. You've got general business, the GB directly across the street, which is where Blue Ball Body and Frame is. Right next door to that is an M1, as is across the street where you've got Brenneman Lumber. On the north side of Parrott Street, you do have one R1, which I believe is Mr. Mowry's place. And then directly north of the subject properties, you've got NC, which has been Leonard's Meat Market. It's now a drive-through and pizza place. And then just north of that, you have OI. So there's definitely a conglomerate of zoning districts in this direct vicinity. In my opinion, in learning and knowing some about planning, to jump from a GB to an R1 generally doesn't happen. You generally have a multifamily component in between. For whatever reason, that's just the standard design of zoning. They gradually increase to decrease your intensity of uses.
And understanding, and I believe that's why that this is being asked for. I know these are R1A classifications now. Everyone in that area is R1A now under the new zoning code.
Yes.
So, but yes, I know I'm a visual person too, and you know, obviously we like to see that. But I also appreciate the fact that why spend that money unless you know you're going to be able to get the zoning done. So that would be a separate matter before this board as well. So anyway, but I do appreciate your comments getting on the record for this. Anybody else who wishes to speak about this?
Mayor?
Yes.
One other thought, just looking at this, by looking at it, there are 4 separate parcels that Mr. Updike owns. At one time, it was 6. For whatever reason, the northern 3 were combined into 1. But by looking at it as a whole property and developing it as one development, you could limit the access to one entrance and exit, which could be that platted alley, so that everyone entering or exiting a property would have to go onto Adamson Street for safety.
Okay. Good. Okay, so if you would read the
My name
statement.
is John Staggers. My address is 5 Adamson.
Oh, I know why.
I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability. So help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
Welcome.
All right. We bought this house on this side of town. We're directly, where's that at? Right here. Right off that alley you were speaking of. We bought it to get away from apartment complexes and all the other stuff, because I've seen how they deteriorate around this town. We don't want that. I'm trying to find the right words.
Let's take your time.
We've dealt with drug addicts and crazy people living around us. We don't want to deal with that. We have kids. We don't want issues we don't want. Another thing we were looking at was property value. Would this affect ours at all, or our neighbors at all? And that alley, my driveway comes right off of that. So that'd potentially block us in, cause issues there. And again, it's something we don't need.
Okay. Mr. Updike, do you have any response for Mr. Stagger's concerns there? We'll wait till you get to the microphone so we can get you on record there.
Again, thank you. I appreciate anybody's concern or hearing out. The plan is to not have it degrade into unsightly, dangerous for kids. That's not the plan at all to happen, which I'm sure any other apartment complexes that are like that wasn't their plan either. But no, that is not the plan at all. You know, and I can't speak for what that does to property values, neighboring properties.
Anybody else wish to comment on this project? Okay, Mrs. Blankenhorn, did you receive any their communications through either phone calls or in writing?
I did not.
Mr. Ball, do you see any issues from your end as engineering and utilities and so forth?
Yeah, so utilities are all available. They're in good conditions. The biggest issue is honestly with the R1, we have to provide one access per lot. So that means if this goes to single family, you're basically putting, potentially you would have drives out onto South Main Street, which should not go there. The best scenario is what Ms. Blankenhorn explained, where it's one property, one access point. I think that we had them combine the lots maybe when Mark Ramser owned it to prevent some of that when we did the intersection. But ideally we define something where, maybe the alley is developed so that it becomes essentially a shared driveway. There's some kind of agreements made there, but we don't want any driveways out on South Main Street. And if it's individually developed, we may have to do that. Because of the law requiring one driveway per lot.
Okay.
So I don't know that, ideally whatever it is, it has a master plan and it's developed as one unit and kept that way.
And any other plan at that would, if this, any other next steps would have to return to Municipal Planning Commission.
I don't think so,
No.
but with the new code, I'm not completely
Okay.
confident in that. Generally, in the past, if we didn't have R4, so I can speak to R3, they could just present a plan that would have to pass through stormwater review and zoning review. But if
For
they
the
would-
R1 or the R1A, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Or R2.
If they
two or
would
three.
want to build a structure with 4 dwelling units in it, that would have to go through the state of Ohio and get state-approved plans.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Ball?
No, like I said, water, sewer, everything, all of our utilities are available there and they're reasonably new.
Okay. Mr. Broran, do you have any legal concerns with the proposed rezoning?
Well, I have a number of comments. First of all, under our code, because all of these lots are still, even as R1A, are still not technically legal lots, because they're under one ownership, he can't actually split them off and sell them individually if he wanted to do that.
R1A, you could.
Well, but like
They only have to be 40 feet wide.
yeah, okay, but the top 3 though can't be split.
Correct.
And so you're really only dealing with 4 lots as it is. And we would potentially have to provide curb cuts for the southern 3 if they were sold off individually. And then the top one, the curb cut would be up on Parrott Street is what we would provide.
But I think you could technically split the top one if it met the code requirements of R1A, which is a minimum 40-foot width.
But I think that would be, I think that the 2 beneath that, you could sell the 3 as a unit, but the problem is with the 2 beneath that, I think that there's the problem with the curb cuts for those is the closeness to the intersection. And so I think that you're going to be stuck with those as one unit. The R4 is something that we've never actually dealt with before. This is the very first time that it's ever been considered by any of the city. And this is under 110501A7F. And it reads, I have it. The mixed residential district, R4, is intended to provide for and encourage orderly, high-density residential development in the form of multiple family housing or as a mixture of different housing types. It's specifically the purpose of the district to encourage higher density development around downtown and the general business areas where they can provide support for local businesses, also serve as transitional areas. Stipulated density is intended to provide for areas of suburban character in the community that may also include limited public and institutional uses that serve the neighborhoods. The working assumption, I think, when that was approved, was it was going to be a significantly larger area than just, was it 3/4 of an acre? About?
3/4 of an acre is what I believe. Yeah.
What are the development standards for R4?
But it is transitional.
So I want to make sure that I have a good handle on the setbacks and things like that.
Front, 20 rear, and there's the sides.
So it's going to be a 30-foot setback from the front and 20 feet from the rear, plus a minimum of 10 for, how deep are those lots?
Some of them. The northern line is 77, and then the other ones are, it's like about 120. They may not all be the same though. About 120 feet is what lot
Deep.
3 is deep.
All right. So we're going to chew up not quite half of that in setbacks.
If you're considering, if we're going to chew up half of that in setbacks for,
For if the committee were to grant an R4 zoning, I'm just looking, is that half of the usable space would be chewed up by setbacks? Because of the narrow, these are 120 feet, and you've got 50 feet in setbacks, 30 and 20 in the front. So you're going to have a fairly narrow building running right down the center.
are we ready to make this decision today, or do we need to table this one?
I would make a motion that we table this so that Mr. Updike and the city can figure out, R4, Samantha, can I speak to you directly?
Yes, sir.
You're right. I'm probably the only person up here that bridges both administrations. Spot zoning was an issue, but it was addressed and to a large part corrected in the new code. This was voted down because of spot zoning before. So you're correct. But the R4, this new R4, and the transitional nature of this corner or this part of town, this really does speak to R4. But the fact that we're making a decision without a plan concerns me. So rather than, that's my basis for tabling it, so that Mr. Updike has a direction from today, but that he doesn't have total approval to come and develop something that we don't have a secondary. Over in the old code, we could do this, but he would still have to come, he or she or whoever would still have to come back with a plan. But what I'm hearing now is that they don't have to do that. So that really troubles me. But I don't want to necessarily tell Mr. Updike, no, I would rather have it tabled, have the proper research done, and have him come back with a plan that the neighbors would feel comfortable about, as well as this commission. So that's my basis.
Is it officially to
He needs-
postpone?
Well, I mean, he can move to table because it used to be under the Gotterman's rules, it was, moved to a certain date certain.
Okay.
But you can table it under the Robert's Rules of Order.
So it has been motioned to table this until the next Municipal Planning Commission meeting.
I'll second.
It's a second. Any discussion on tabling this?
Do we need to say what you're expecting to see in order to make a decision? You just want like a pencil plan of what could be done?
Something visual, and I think we would like to see something visual. It doesn't have to be an architectural rendering, in my opinion, at this point in time, but.
Definitely clarification of the traffic flow.
Right.
Like that's setbacks and just.
Yeah. And then taking in the questions and the concerns from the neighborhood today that as best as you can, that can kind of draw a picture for us with the setbacks and everything like that. I think everybody would really appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay. So it's been motioned and says to discuss. Any other discussion on tabling this to the next one?
Just point of order, how do we know when it's coming off the table? Does that have?
They said to the next meeting.
Okay, so it's automatically to the next meeting.
That
Okay.
was the motion that he made.
You made a motion to table it.
And they said he added it to the next meeting.
All right, I want to make sure we said that,
Okay.
because I missed that.
Okay.
Okay, because I
Any
know
other-
we got to advertise and all these things. We don't want to
Right.
misstep.
Any other discussion?
I think it's just fair to be clear. I don't think this is an appropriate place for R4. I just want that to be on the record, and I don't know if any other commission members feel that way, but I don't need more time. Just looking at the logistics of egress. But if you were dancing around it, then I wanted my opinion to be known. So, because I don't think if that's where you are, we should waste Mr. Updike's time.
I think, well, the motion is to table this on.
Sure,
there.
sure.
I
That's,
understand.
I want to get my comment out there because if there's an opportunity to change the motion, but there it is. So my barbaric yawp has been heard. So.
Well,
I think-
again,
I think-
another clarification. So if he comes back and asks and says, realize that R4 is wrong for him, wrong for us, there would be an opportunity to.
Yeah, he could
entertain
always
something
rescind his.
He could make a
Application,
modification,
but, yeah.
Because we once again have
Yeah.
to advertise so that we could make sure that the neighborhood knew what was coming.
Yeah.
He couldn't show up and say, I know R4 isn't gonna work, let's try R3 or R2 this time. And we can't spring that on the neighborhood.
Right.
Does R3 make you feel more comfortable?
I would have to take into consideration that conversation at that
We
point.
have to, well, we've closed the public portion, comment portion of this vote. This is something that it's been motioned and seconded. Is any other discussion on the tabling? Mrs. Blankenhorn, call the roll.
Mayor Starr,
Yes.
Mr. Sawyers,
No.
Mr. Hawkins.
Yes.
Mr. Swallow.
Yes.
The matter will be tabled to the next meeting. Thank you all. We have one more item on the agenda for today. Mrs. Blankenhorn, it is, oops, I just passed it up here. If you would read the item.
2024 MPC 18 for Newark Road parcel number 66-00501.000, Comprehensive Development Plan Amendment.
Okay, who is going to be speaking on this matter? Gentlemen, if you will come in and swear in, the floor will be yours.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Mallory. My address is 6233 Galena, Ohio. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, under the penalty of perjury.
My name is Josh Cummings. My address is 3315 Westerville Woods, Columbus, Ohio. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, we're back. We've been in the process of finalizing our plan, and basically that's required a significant amount of final engineering as we've worked through our plan. When the plan was approved and the ordinance was adopted by council a few months back, we had done that with preliminary engineering. Now that we've done through more extensive final engineering, we're coming before the board to disclose a request for some divergences that are primarily related to some topography and some structural changes to the layout that we originally had. So we're here to answer any questions and respond to that. Josh is here from E-Mation-T, our civil engineer, if there's any questions regarding the technical side of it as well.
Okay. And just so everybody knows, the comments or anything that we talk about today is with regard to the site. The zoning has already been done. Everything else has been done. Mr. Bourne, can you?
We are specifically here regarding these specific changes.
Right.
To the plan. We are not here to discuss whether the plan is good or bad. We are here to discuss these specific changes.
Yes. Well, does any of the members of the commission have questions for the team from Highland Real Estate? Can you just go through the high points, just the quick little bullet points there?
Sure.
Scott and John.
Actually, Josh, you want to kind of walk us through there?
So a majority of it is just minor adjustments to the overall plan that was previously approved. The two more significant changes to the development plan was the shared use path that was running along the development. More specifically, the shared use path that goes through the environmental features on the southern portion of the property. In order to protect those features, we have came to a realignment of the shared use path to kind of go up through the development and then add a path along State Route 13, which is Newark Road.
Actually, I think it's Exhibit F on the submittal. If you want to go to that, Lacey, we can kind of talk through that. So, yeah, I think that's right. So, our project, when we originally submitted this, yeah, I think it's, there we go, yeah.
Yeah, that's that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when we originally submitted this, basically some of the structural tenets of the way we design and put comprehensive plans together is we want our projects to be walkable and connected from a pedestrian standpoint. This project has a significant amount of green space, and we're almost at 50% here, which created a terrific opportunity for a walking paths and connections. Since we went through the approval roughly a year ago, a couple of things have happened. One is the Owl Creek Conservancy has begun to expand a vision for connectivity and effectively creating a path that's going to go through that to connect further to the west. That wasn't on the table when we came through before, but because they did that, we thought, okay, this is a terrific opportunity for us to create kind of more of a regional connection as well. Our plan and that path didn't create the opportunity for that connectivity. Now we have done that. Now we don't know exactly where that connectivity is going to be, but it runs functionally, you can see that multi-use plan, it runs basically along the western boundary of the property to connect with wherever the Conservancy comes out. The second thing is environmental and particularly wetland concerns. Although we had done an initial study on our phase one, we didn't realize the depth and breadth of the wetlands that we had, particularly to the south. Originally, we thought that we could bring a path around, as Josh was alluding to the south, but because of the way the wetlands is laid out and also the jurisdictional stream in the area, a path going through that will require a significant amount of disturbance, and I think that kind of defeats the purpose. So what we've done here is we modified the plan and the pathways you can see, and that multi-use plan that's in red there comes around and it connects back up to the main artery, the main road going back up to 13. We realigned or expanded the sidewalks all the way through. So now we have connectivity all the way through. The plan actually comes back together and connects into existing sidewalks. Addition that we did make is along State Route 13 up there. As you can see on the west side of Route 13, we create a kind of a walking path, bike path, sidewalk that connects all the way along the length of the project there. And I think that actually strategically aligns well with the kind of the comprehensive plan of connectivity and sidewalks that the city has been talking about as well. What this now allows to a couple things. One, it allows connectivity all through the entire project or the entire community, pedestrian connect, and you can actually circle all the way around the community and stay on walking paths and or sidewalks. You can connect down to the west to the Conservancy, but eventually I believe the city will probably work its way up to this property as it progresses to the south, and this now creates a connection for that to do for strategically going forward. This addresses the concern about wetlands and the jurisdictional stream disturbances that we talked about earlier, but I think in truth is actually a more comprehensive plan and addresses, I think, the strategic plan of the city in terms of pedestrian connectivity.
Okay. Thank you.
To add to that, there's a couple other minor adjustments that's been made. The townhomes was an adjustment. If you actually go one sheet before this exhibit, you can zoom out and see the adjustments, the red and the black. The red was the old layout that was previously approved, and the black is the new layout. So in that area specifically, we have adjusted the layout to align with more of the developer's means and methods for townhomes in that development, and allowed for public roads, public roads with platted lots. Outside of that, the rest of the adjustments to the entire development are really minor in nature, just making some adjustments here and there to alignments and all of that to account for grade changes, constructability, things like that.
But no modification to zoning, no modification to densities, no modification to types of uses.
Okay.
That's all stayed consistently.
And the number of units has stayed the same?
Number of units has stayed the same.
Okay. Any questions up here for these two gentlemen? Okay, we're going to open it up to public comment if you guys want to just hang tight. So again, we're limiting the comments to the site plan changes. So does anybody wish to come up and speak as to the site plan changes? Okay. Mrs. Blankenhorn, we're going to close the public comment portion of the meeting today. Mrs. Blankenhorn, did you receive any written communications or calls or anything?
I have one letter that was emailed in today to the Municipal Planning Commission concerning Liberty Crossing subdivisional proposal. Please enter this letter and comment into the official record of the Commission for the Liberty Crossing subdivision proposal. Commissioners, engineers, and officials, the Mount Vernon wastewater treatment plant has a history of unlawful conduct, discharges, and an apparent historical hostile relationship with the Ohio EPA. With the recent felony convictions at the wastewater plant for records alterations, it must be questioned whether an approval of the additional and significant wastewater volumes caused by the Liberty Crossing subdivision proposal could be advanced in good faith. Questions and doubts about the wastewater treatment plant are compounded by the other new and significant wastewater flows from other new developments on the north side and historical stormwater connections apparently still in existence that add volumes to be treated. Accordingly, a pause in further advances or approvals for Liberty Crossing are necessary until there are written assurances that the wastewater treatment plant can be operated within compliance of all laws and environmental regulations. It is therefore necessary to complete an independent engineering analysis, preferably with the assistance of the OEPA, to ensure adequate capacity and operational capabilities. Additionally, an audit, preferably in partnership with the OEPA, of operational, supervisory, management, and leadership personnel must be conducted to ensure adequate training that is driven by a culture of compliance. Until these are completed, it would be irresponsible to move forward with or approve the Liberty Crossing proposal. Bob Everett, Mount Vernon, Ohio.
Let's just address that.
I would note that that is beyond the scope of what we're dealing with here.
That is beyond the scope, yes.
And
at the same time,
You want me to comment?
I would like Mr. Ball to comment on our work with the EPA, on our compliance and our capacity that the wastewater treatment plant has, please.
Yes, we are, the wastewater plant and the water plant are regularly inspected by the EPA. We have, a assigned person that is the inspector. We have a good relationship with her. The plant does have additional capacity. We are working constantly with the EPA because we have required upgrades that have been handed down. These required upgrades are not capacity related, but they are for phosphorus discharge, which most everybody that has more than 1 million gallons of wastewater a day has the same requirements in Ohio. So we've been working continuously with them for the last 5 years. We have a project that is in design that will improve the plant and incidentally will add additional capacity. So we are planning to, by changing some of the treatment processes, we will increase our capacity above what we have now. There are infiltration issues in the system. Everyone has those. If you've been to the north end of town, we are fixing infiltration issues in the north end, and our crews are working, the city crews are working to address those also. We're never going to fix all of them. There will always be that, but we have a manageable amount of inflow and infiltration. Questions?
And we're in compliance with the EPA.
Yes, I believe. I was not part of the last inspection, so, but there are no, we don't have any active
I can
violations.
report that after talking with our Assistant Director of Utilities with the water treatment plant, Mr. Brown.
Wastewater treatment.
Wastewater, thank you. Wastewater treatment plant, Mr. Charles Brown. We are in compliance. They have been regularly communicating with them, and all of the testing is current, and we're in good standing with the EPA. So once we found the problem, we addressed it swiftly. And
I would note that that person has only just been indicted. There have been no felony convictions.
yes. Anyway, so as far as concern with the wastewater treatment plant, we're good. Any other communications?
That's all I received.
Mr. Ball, do you have any concerns?
No, I think, I mean, we're looking at exactly the changes. It makes it seems to make it less impact, easier to build. You're having less disturbance to the wetlands. I think it's a logical place for the bike trail.
Okay.
So, no, I don't have any concerns.
Are there any shade tree concerns?
No, I mean, you still have a significant amount of green space. They're not changing any of the tree planting or anything this doesn't have any effect on the things that the tree plantings.
Okay. Mr. Braun, are there any legal concerns that you have with regard to these minor adjustments?
No, I mean, the issue before the municipal planning is, these are changes. Are they major changes? And a major change requires change in the density, change of the whole of the scope, or is this a minor change which does not affect the basic design of the approval? And at least in my opinion, this is a minor change. In the case of a minor change, municipal planning can rule on that without it going forward back to council.
So, think it's without any other discussion, or before we can discuss it further, then we have to have a motion that this is either a minor change or a major change, correct?
Well, it can be part of the motion to approve.
Motion to approve
And
with as minor changes or major changes.
I move to approve MPC 18 as a minor change.
Is there a second? Second? Was that you, Austin?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Starr.
Yes.
Mr. Salyers.
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins.
Yes.
Mr. Swallow.
Yes.
It is approved with minor changes, so. That is all for the scheduled items. Is there any other business before this commission?
None at this time, but I will note the regularly scheduled
Quiet, please, just so we can get this on the record here, too.
November meeting, which would generally be held the second Thursday, which is November 14th. We are pushing that out to November 21st, the following Thursday.
The next meeting will be November the 21st, not the 14th. We're pushing that out a week, just so everybody knows. That will be the regularly scheduled time for that, so.
Sir, was that the 21st, Mayor?
21st of November, yes. Anything else for the bit of the order here? Then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Mr. Gotke, do you miss that lake in front of your house? I am so thrilled.